I'm Drew Breezy, and this is the Comm Center, the show that dissects 911 calls, emergency response video, and audio by two guys who have done both jobs. Tonight, we're back live, and we'd love to hear from you. So call us at 848-266-6911. That's 848-COMM-911. We want to get to your calls. An old dispatcher friend of ours, a friend of the show, her name is Carli. She's thinking about moving further into management. So tonight, we're going to test her mettle with a mock interview. And John is going to show us how to make methamphetamine with strawberry Twizzlers and items from your child's pencil box. All that and what it means for your weekend tonight on the Comm Center.
City council members have announced their plan to disband the Minneapolis Police Department.
We're calling for defunding the police.
Shootings in New York City have more than doubled this year.
Wake up, America. This is the Comm Center with Drew Breezy. It's a show where we tell 911 tales and also talk cop response. It's also a TV show on the internet about two best friends that spend 14 months chasing down the inscrutable leader of a vast mafia conspiracy, only to find that Chicken Bones Jones is just a shabby old basset hound suffering from eczema and depression. Drew, it's been a week since I've last talked to you, and it's been like 2 months, 10 weeks since we've been live. Look how live we are, everyone. If this was a recording, I couldn't do this.
Right. I actually, John, you're live. I am some type of AI.
I'm CGI. I'm older school than you.
I'm CGI'd. That's why I'm up higher than normal.
I've met. Sorry, this is an audio presentation, and everyone at home listening completely just missed me sitting up more straight. The phone books came in. Drew's sitting higher than usual. He's in a high chair. His brother recommended that he sit higher up, or to get the eye level and the camera level match. But instead of raising the camera, he just put some phone books on the chair. That's cop thinking for you. You can tell that Drew has been a government employee for a really long time.
You have to understand the setup in this room. Like, you can't. It's on a tripod. You can't lower where the camera is. It's a long story. But believe me, it's been vetted by professionals. It's been vetted by Strong Bone Jones or whatever his name is.
Chicken Bones Jones. Let's go through the chats to prove that we're live, because lots of people are like calling me out and saying that I'm a liar. First of all, Sherry, thank you for coming by and picking up the dog. Felony Melanie, long time no see. Have some questions for you that we'll get to probably later in the show if you call in. Fight or Flight Leather Work. Yay, Matthew says. Abby Ellsworth from the great podcast on being a police officer says, hello, Carli. She does not say hi to me. We got Lauren. He's from that CDC show where they also never think that I'm live. Silamander's here, old friend of the show. Cupcakes and Cameos, a favorite of mine. I mean, I love you all the same, just differently, of course. Carli is also here in the chats as well as actually on the show. Teresa is here, and probably some more people coming in. But like, do you guys believe us? Put a 1 in the chats if you believe us, a 2 if you still think that we're fake.
If you still think that we're fake, would I be able to show you this date right here? What's the date say, John?
It says February 1. That's the date that we're scheduled to broadcast this episode.
How would I know? How
you
would I
have
know
no
that
way of knowing
if we weren't live?
Guys, calendars aren't published in advance.
Yes, they're living documents, like our Constitution.
Oh my! You're fighting words over there. Cupcakes and Cameo says too. So yeah, I guess there's really no way to prove that it's live. We thank you if you're listening at home that it's a little bit more of a messier show, but we're just trying to enjoy. They call this what do they call this, Drew? It's ephemeral. It's more spontaneous. It's we're shooting from the hip. Free flowing. Extemporaneous, probably a great 4-letter word to describe it, although I'm probably going to be lectured from somebody later for the use of my 4-letter words.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, because we're going to have an interview, and I do want to just get straight to Carli because she has set aside time for us, and we appreciate that. We all want to talk about something. Last year on Comm Center, previously on the Comm Center, we talked about Farmington PD responding to the wrong house. This was in April of last year. They were dispatched to a house for a domestic disturbance. They arrived at a house where it seemed to be dark. There was a light on. Knocked on the door. They were joking about something. I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty light. It was literally like, "What color was your favorite M&M?" I think, which
Oh,
I think I'm having a moment of deja vu here. But
yeah, that sounds very familiar.
anyway, so they knock on the door and we're like, "Yeah, we're here to just peaceably, enforce the law, make sure everyone's okay." And all of a sudden, like, this dude just like throws open the door, and he comes out guns a-blazing, and the cops all have to retreat. They blast him halfway to hell, and then unfortunately they have to blast him the rest of the way, which is the really painful half. And then his wife comes out, after seeing her husband blast all the way to hell, and she comes out and starts firing at the cops. And it turns into a whole deal, right? Like, cops go to the wrong house and kill a guy. Like, you can see like how in our profession, without doing a deep dive on that seems like a bad deal. Seems like the dispatchers kind of set up an ambush, set up a guy to lose his life. The cops, Anyway, this is how it all turned out. I'm going to read this from a news website called the Albuquerque Journal. There's no way to know if this is a journal of ill repute or if it's a stand-up publication. But Farmington, 3 Farmington police officers accused of a fatality shooting an armed homeowner after going to the wrong house on a domestic violence call won't face prosecution, authorities said Tuesday. So these poor guys have had to wait this entire time. Like, you think Comm Center's been a great show that's been going on for 100 years and like all these episodes? Literally since that episode, these guys have been waiting to figure out like how their lives are going to go. How's their pension going to go? Do they have jobs? Are they facing second-degree murder charges? Like, they have been waiting this entire time. New Mexico Department of Justice officials said in a review that showed police made a reasonable attempt to contact the people inside the victim's house, and that the officers who approached the address, quote, did not foreseeably create an unnecessarily dangerous situation, unquote. I have to say, I completely agree with that assessment. The report said there was no basis for pursuing criminal charges. Police body cam footage showed Robert Dotson, 52, pointed a firearm at the officers on the night of April 5, and, quote, their use of force was appropriate, authorities said. Mark Kernett, the attorney for the Dotson family, said police fired more than 20 rounds at his client despite never being fired at nor having a firearm pointed at any of the officers. Do you want to address that, Drew? The attorney says that that this Dotson guy never fired a single round. Let me ask you. So he's mad that the cops fired 20 rounds. His client didn't fire one. What's the correct ratio? I mean, this Dotson guy should have at least been able to kill 2 cops with at least 15 to 20 rounds for it to be fair, right? That's how many we're supposed to take.
Well, there were 2 whoa-whoas in there, I think. Like, whoa. So you can subtract 2 rounds for that. Look, the guy died tragically. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what it was in his mind. And even so, responsible gun ownership, I think most Second Amendment people will tell you the same thing. You can't just go a blasting when there are people knocking on your door. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, if there was reason to believe that there was a home invasion or something like that, I think, I think that it does happen that home invaders sometimes disguise themselves as police, and they say things like Farmington police, but normally they just kick the door in and come on in. This was a little bit different than that. I mean, we broke it down, and by the way, I think it's available. Did we put that one? That one's in the remake section. That's in the reboots. You can find that on our YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scroll all over the place. You'll find it. I can't remember what the title is, but
it's Cops Go to the Wrong House. I'm sure that's exactly what it's called. The great thing about listening to the classic episodes remix is it's 30 to 50% less John. So if you want just to get to the straight Drew stuff, I am almost not in those episodes at all. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe and click the little notification bell so that you can keep up with the Comm Center. We appreciate that because we're trying to grow this channel and this brand. You can also catch up with us on Rumble, of course. If you're listening on Spotify, as some of you are, most of you are switching over to Apple Podcasts, I'm noticing, but go ahead and leave a 5-star rating and review where appropriate, because that stuff helps us out as well. But let me, I've just interrupted my own self as I wanted to do my own news story, Drew. Like, could you imagine like being interrupted in the middle of an important part to like talk about an
never
ad?
happens.
No,
never happens.
I don't know how that would happen, but anyway, so Dotson committed no crime, and it was not a suspect when he answered the door after the police went to the wrong house. Kernett said nothing can return Robert to his family, which is true, and it appears nothing will be done to hold these officers accountable. Something was done to hold them accountable, and the account was that they didn't owe anything because this guy came out guns blazing to the cops. The family filed a lawsuit last fall in federal court alleging that Dotson and his family were deprived of their civil rights when the cops came in and started blasting them. No, when they were deprived of their civil rights when the officers in the northwestern New Mexico City mistakenly showed up at their house at night. Prosecutors said they met with Dotson's family to explain their decision, which was nice of them, and show them the report by Seth Stoughton, a former police officer who is now a tenured professor at the University of South Carolina's Joseph F. Rice School of Law. So they did get like a third party to weigh in on this to help them make their decision. Stoughton is a nationally recognized expert in the police use of force and has rendered questions both for and against officers in state and federal cases. It's kind of interesting that they mention his track record, with everything going with the NFL. Like there's all kinds of statistics about how often refs are throwing flags on home versus away games. And I view that as sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
Kernet said Stoughton's report relied heavily on the initial New Mexico State Police investigation, raising concerns about the validity of the information provided to the state prosecutors. He makes a point that, there could be some protecting your own there, but we did see the video on it, so I intend to agree with that. So they were supposed to be going to the house across the street. The body camera footage showed them walking up to the door. Dotson came out with a handgun, which is what we all saw. Then Kimberly came out, the wife, she came out too. And we remember the cops on the video saying, saying, no, please don't, or something, because the cops did not want to fire at her as well. Interesting to note, closing out, is that New Mexico has one of the highest per capita rates of killing by police in the nation. He said, it doesn't have to be this way. Well, that is something that was also interesting that I read in the report is apparently there was a Ring cam or off-brand doorbell camera where, it might have been more reasonable for him to assess who was outside by simply looking at the camera. So I would be interesting to see, if that would play deeply into the investigation, because those are things are on the rise, and it's actually something that's affecting dispatch quite a bit is Ring cameras.
Yeah. I don't remember there being a Ring camera at their residence. I don't remember seeing the video anyway, which would make sense. I mean, obviously it'd be part of the investigation, but if that's the case, they knew somebody was out there. I mean, you get people knocking on your door, odd people knocking on your door. There is a remedy for that, by the way. You can call 911. I mean, people do it all the time.
I would be happy to tell you that the people outside are the good guys, and you don't have to worry. And if you have a gun, just go ahead and don't have it in your hand when you answer the door, because officers are tense right now, and it might be better if they didn't see you with a gun in your hand. And I've literally had to give those instructions before, so that's not at all uncommon. And if you're worried about who's outside, just go ahead and dial 911.
Speaking of which, in that same section on our YouTube channel, our Rumble channel, we reposted the Ed Troyer story, he's the sheriff out in, I think, King County, out in Washington State somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it garnered a lot of comments and a lot of attention. And everyone thinks that I am insane and that I'm off my rocker. I think they love you more than they love me, but
I am here for the charisma. I'm so charismatic. My mom once said I was. She said that I was someone like Jim Jones or something. She said I was so charismatic.
That is something to be proud of.
Yeah.
But old JJ. But I was beaten down for a few days in those comment section. If you want to, I don't know, join in on the conversation, feel free. I mean, it went exactly how you would think it would go in Pacific Northwest. That guy was abusing his authority and da-da-da. So, just the only reason I bring that up is because this case we had in New Mexico, this guy had strange people at his door and he just started blasting. When you have a newspaper carrier driving through your residential area at 3 a.m. and you don't know it's a newspaper carrier, for some reason, just calmly getting in the car and following him and calling somebody who is employed by a law enforcement agency because you're the sheriff of that county is racist. It just doesn't compute to me. I just don't get it. I mean, I think that I think the argument could be made if I were a barista and I followed you all over the neighborhood and called 911, you could probably call me a racist. Cops are a little bit different. When you knock on their door, when you're prowling around their neighborhood, even though this guy was determined not to be a prowler, but that's hindsight information. But you know, this guy's kind of prowling around the neighborhood. He doesn't realize he's a newspaper carrier, so he gets out there and follows him to get his tag number and calls people to help. The people that show up at cops' houses at 3 a.m. generally are there to return a favor. Like, maybe you put my brother in prison for the rest of his natural life, or that one time the people on your department arrested me for domestic violence and I wasn't even home at the time, or, you know, people exact revenge on cops all the time. It's in the news. People exact their revenge on judges who, you know, were part of that story. They were not to, you know, turn a pun, but very judgmental about the sheriff here. Thank you. And there are other, you know, prosecutors the same, even public defenders. Like, these people call 911 all the time. When there's a deer walking through their yard, they call 911 because they swear that, you know, Charles Manson has escaped from the jail and Chicken Bone Jones is outside ready to pounce all over them. So it's a little bit different for cops. You know, it's that fact I'm not willing to argue. I'm telling you that's a fact. Like, I'm not telling you, I'm telling the public.
Oh,
that's a fact. Like, I really don't care what your perception is.
I know.
If you come knocking on my door at 3 a.m. or you drive into my driveway and I don't get the newspaper, I'm going to be a little suspicious about who you are. I'm going to try to figure out who you are. And it doesn't mean I'm flexing my muscles just because I asked for one or two. And even when the guy was confronted, he says, I'll take you out. So the sheriff said, yeah, I mean, he threatened to kill me. I mean, and then on the stand under oath said, well, when he said, I'm going to take you out, I didn't think he meant take me out to dinner. But somehow that got left out of the story. It always gets left out of the story. So
that's because it's too smart-assy and good. It was funny listening to you break that down. I remember that breakdown, and you were talking about how people driving around with their lights off delivering newspapers tend to cause a lot of suspicion amongst police officers. I don't know if you ever covered this when you did the Christopher Dorner breakdown. This was the former naval sailor and LAPD officer who washed out very early in his career and went on a rampage of shooting and killing and ramming police officers. But when the search began for Christopher Dorner, police officers, I believe it was in Riverside, California. I could be wrong on that. I don't mean to cast aspersions, but there was two people, I think a mom and a daughter, they were both adults, but they were delivering newspapers, and the cops thought that it was Christopher Dorner, and they shot both of them through the back of the vehicle. Shot one in the back, and another one sustained another gunshot wound. And it was because they were pulling up in someone's driveway without headlights on, and they thought it matched the description of Christopher Dorner's vehicle. And police officers had already been shot and I believe killed at that point. So they were already at 11 at that point, and it was the exact same thing. So you know what, newspaper delivery people, first of all, God bless you. You know, there's only like 13 of you left in this country because newspapers are barely a thing anymore. You know what? Just go turn on the lights. I know you're trying to be good to your subscribers. You don't want to wake them up. They can get blackout curtains because you don't deserve to be shot in the back.
Oh, yeah. I just got word from corporate, John. We're not allowed to say blackout curtains.
Sorry. You want to get light dampening curtains. Sorry.
Right. Thank you. Carli is here. She's in the waiting room. John, you want to go get her? Or you want to bring her in?
I'll bring her in, but I want to say that this show is brought to you by Hank's Mayonnaise. I'm just kidding. It's not. We still need a sponsor. If you want to sponsor your show here, reach out to us. We're here. I'm going to bring to the show Carli. She's appeared in many prior episodes, including the Louisville bank robbery episode. She also teamed up with me to talk about the sheriff's deputies in, I believe it was Barron County, Wisconsin, that lost their lives. This is probably her third appearance, or possibly even fourth. I don't know if this is like SNL where she gets down her club for like most repeat guests, but if so, please welcome back to the show, Carli. Welcome back. How are you, Carli?
Living the dream, or something like that.
Dreaming to live, one of those two things.
Yes.
Carli is a frequent visitor on another podcast that you do, John. What's the name of that thing?
It's the macrame hour with Carli and John, where we get together and we talk about it's not just owls anymore, people. You could do macrame of all kinds of things. I like doing just macrame rugs. Carli has an online store where she sells macrame lingerie, and I know what you're thinking, but it is tasteful. That's why I don't mind mentioning it. That's the macrame hour. You can find that anywhere on Spotify or iTunes. Actually, it's not called the macrame hour. It's called Hard Time, and it's a show about correctional officers. Thank you, Drew, for letting me plug that, and I'm sorry I ruined it.
Yeah, that's fine. I do appreciate you sending me the macrame macaw parrot that you sent me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you made that or Carli or Beignet for that matter.
We're not allowed to say.
Oh, we're not allowed to say. It's NDA. Okay, so what, Carli? What brings us to tonight? Like, did we have a conversation, you and me, perhaps, or?
We did. I was toying with the idea of going back to the world of dispatch and leaving corrections, because I thought about basically being you and running a comm center out here. And then I got more into thinking about it, and I was like, I mean, I am sitting pretty good where I'm at, and I have promote abilities here, but at the same time, I'm also very pro positive work environment for dispatch, knowing that it doesn't happen very often. So
you're thirsty for power, and you wanted more minions.
Yes.
You wanted more people to live and die at your command. There are those people who are born to do another man's bidding, and you look around you and see those people everywhere. Isn't that right, Carli?
100%. It's all about me having control.
I totally get all of that. Like, I get the, like, I really think I can make a difference here. And then just slowing down a little bit and taking a deep breath and thinking, man, is it really worth it? Because we're going to throw some interview questions at you. So this was kind of set up as a mock interview. But it's modeled after the episode we did with Andrew, our friend Andrew. I don't know if I can say his last name. I will tell you he's in Texas. He was a dispatcher.
The cop now. Then
he became a cop. Yeah, right. And we did an exit interview with Andrew. So if you remember that episode, it'll be posted soon if it's not already up on our fabulous YouTube channel and Rumble. I asked a few questions, kind of serious of Andrew. John asked a few John level serious questions, and we kind of turned the mic over to somebody who's in the profession, a professional, if you will. So that's kind of what the plan is tonight, Carli. If that's all right with you, we're just gonna do a mock interview because this stuff can help you in any management or leadership position, and it could help the masses. Let's be frank about it. I do need to put you on pause for a second though, because I just got hit by lightning with this thought. We did an episode called Dispatch Priming. I think it was called Multitasking or something like that. There was a firestorm of controversy yesterday over dispatch priming. If you follow the account known as Dispatcher Shenanigans, she's quite upset over this. She feels attacked, not over our episode. She wasn't aware that we had just done one, but quite a humorous back and forth that she had yesterday. So it may be too late. You may want to check her stories, but
Shanae, get on the show. It's been 14 months. Right. You were invited to the first episode.
Yeah, for God's sakes. So
it's 58 episodes.
We are definitely in the works now. Like now we have her hackles raised, so to speak. Beignet knows what that means. And she's raring to go. She's like, oh yeah, we got to do a round 2 now because I want to talk about this priming because she is fired up. She's a fiery Latina, and she's all fired up about it. So
she wanted to make sure we didn't fold 8 episodes in, and she didn't waste her time on us. I know that's what right. It really is.
Right. So, but that's enough about that. I mean, Carli, you're in front of us, so how rude of me to talk about somebody else while you're here.
Oh, I love her page.
I do too. I think it's amazing. She does some fantastic stuff in the soundtrack alone. Come for the memes, stay for the soundtrack. We're Dispatcher Shenanigans. All right, Carli, I understand that's your name. I'm just going to ask you, I'm going to throw a couple questions. Actually, I'm just going to ask one question. John will follow up with a question of his own, and then maybe we'll just kind of do it back and forth. If that's all right with you, John?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, I was making sure you
did. Isn't that how they do it when they do an oral board for an interview? I mean, like we're really replicating that environment, right?
Yeah, we're a video oral board.
Okay.
Carli, it's important that highly qualified employees are hired into the profession right now because we're so short-staffed, and it's a critical area, and it's a critically short area. What strategies would you use to retain the current employees with tenure that we already have?
Honestly, just listening to them. I want to know what they like. I want to know what they don't like. I want to know if they had unlimited money, what would you change? And if you had zero money, what would you do different? And see if there's something that I would be able to meet them in the middle and implement. I know when I had management that I looked up to, they listened to us, and it wasn't necessarily about the pay raise. They genuinely listened to what we had to say.
That's an amazing answer. Just a quick follow-up, because you opened the door for me, and excuse me, John, but if you had unlimited funds, what would you do?
I mean, I wish I could say the easy answer is up everyone's pay, but I mean, that's not something that I'm going to be able to do. But even if it's something as just giving them a comfort room, if you had a hard call or if you had a hard time on the radio and then you get a break, instead of having, what was it, like middle age green or whatever, seafoam. I don't remember what the reference
Middle
was.
age green. Ouch.
I'm sure whatever John uses in his house,
Yeah.
but
Institutional green. Thank you. Yes, the
Medicinal
tile was,
institutional green. Yes.
the
That's
tile
what
was on
Kelly's studio
discount from
is.
the insane asylum that was being torn down. I got it at dirt price.
Yeah. But like, even just create a small space, something colorful to look at. Maybe like the little stress poppets, and like something so small as like a coloring book, a comfy chair, just somewhere to go and have those few minutes of recoup time.
Awesome. John, it's your turn.
Carli, all of mine are they're easier, but they are specific hypothetical questions, and they do have a right or wrong answer, in my opinion. I mean, I guess I'll leave it to the audience to really decide that. But mine are all specific scenarios, like what would you do in this given situation? These are everyday leadership scenarios, and I think that they're things that leaders at Comm Centers face. So it's a hypothetical scenario. I'm going to read through it with you pretty slowly, just to give you time to think as we go, because you'll be given details that will be important and in affect the outcome of your answer. So Alice is a dispatcher who's worked in your office for 5 years. Alice is always a top performer. Your night shift has relied heavily upon Alice as a go-to problem solver. A position for supervisor has opened that will give Alice a day shift schedule. If Alice is promoted, the night shift will suffer from Alice's absence. A mediocre day shift 9-year dispatcher, Brent, has applied for the same position. You decide to promote Brent as a reward for his longevity, retain Alice in the night shift as that stabilizing anchor, and preserve the status quo. Now, Alice has put in her 2-week notice, and in her exit interview, she states that she feels the agency is holding her back from success. What's your next move?
I wouldn't have promoted Brent to begin with. If you aren't
within the confines of this exercise, you're already there. So you've already made a mistake, and now you've got to be accountable for your mistakes. That's kind of the purpose of it.
I mean, dang. Yeah, I wouldn't have promoted Brent, but
it's fair. But I mean, I'm looking for a different answer.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I'd probably have to wish her well. I'd write her a great recommendation. I would see if there's any wiggle room if we were having a spot open up on nights, especially if she was adamant on staying on nights and that stopped her from even putting in to be a supervisor on days. Then even just see if there's an extra task that she would be in charge of, just to give her a sense of importance. Just because, I mean, I'm not going to make a shift suffer on purpose, but if someone feels that way, I felt that way. And instead of, telling the department, hey, I'm up and leaving and moving to a new state and getting, okay, see you later, have a good one, it would at least be, what can I help you with to make you successful in that new role?
I appreciated the aspects of your response to say that you would wish her well, that you would write her a recommendation, perhaps keeping the door open for a return if something opens up. I like that you relied on your own experience. I have to unfortunately let you know that the correct answer was throw a pizza party. Drew.
Yes, and Brent will eat.
Brent gets nothing.
Brent will
Brent
get
gets
all
fired.
the pepperoni slices. He's just going to eat the cheese slices.
So it wasn't wrong. You did a good job, but it just wasn't what I was personally looking for. So thank you.
It wasn't right either because of the
No, it
pizza.
wasn't right at all. I mean, it was way off. But
I want to point out, though, this is something Carli brought up that I think is that bears discussion, maybe, or just at least an FYI for all of you people out there that aren't in the communications industry. When I was coming through, the day shift was a coveted spot. When I ended my career and I was running a comm center, and again, I said running a comm center, so please drink. It was a cat fight to get to the midnight shift. That was where the most problems were. People not being able to maintain their status or position on the midnight shift. Anybody with seniority was working on the midnight shift. They wanted to be on the midnight shift, which to me was a very key indicator. And
they wanted to get away from you.
Yeah, it wasn't me because I had just come in, but yes, they definitely did not want to mingle with the administration. Plain and simple. I mean, maybe they didn't see it that way, but maybe the administrators didn't see it that way. But I tend to say, that, and they got shift differential, so there was a little bit more money involved. I mean, I'm not going to blame, other humans completely for that. But
Diane,
Trent, or Brent, what was his name? Okay, Carli, get your game face on, because your boss wants to add customer service related software to the current CAD system. It's going to add steps to the process that's already tedious. How do you open the door to tell your boss that you disagree because your dispatchers are not in favor, they hate change, and they're already overwhelmed?
Did my boss do the job prior, or did they come in external?
External.
Okay. I would set up a time that we would be able to talk openly. Ask them if they were in a position to accept feedback with reason, and come at it from having done the job in a very short-staffed environment, which, at least like the positive on going into this one, is knowing they're not nearly as short as we were, and that they do at least have the bodies. But coming to them from the perspective of who we're actually affecting. Is it going to affect just me? Is it going to affect just the dispatchers? Is it going to affect anyone in the field? And is it going to affect the people that call? It's going to affect everybody, because as it is, I mean, ideally our calls were 30 seconds or less. Most of the time, less. And it was, we don't want to extend care. We don't want to extend the response time. We want to ultimately get that person the help that they need. So if you start from the bottom up and go from the caller's perspective, they just say, get an officer here now, get medics here now. Okay, well, they're already not wanting to work with us. Why are we going to incorporate more that is going to anger them and cause even more of a delay? Because now you're arguing with them of just give me the damn address. Right. And then having it come back to the officers in the field. Well, if they didn't get there fast enough, now they're pissed at them. And then they're going to come to us. Why didn't we get the information faster? And then they're going to come up to me. Why didn't you allow them to get the information faster? So if you show it as the full chain reaction, and if you start off the conversation with, hey, do you have a moment to actually discuss the effect of this? I don't want to just say, no, I don't want to do it. I want to come in with, this is why it would be more beneficial to do it this way.
Excellent. So in a sense, what I was getting at, I mean, you pretty much verbatim said what I would have said. No, you're definitely on the right track in the sense that you want to go in there and stick up for the employees, which is the like overall theme of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But presenting it in a way is you did it brilliantly, because you presented it in a way that it's like, look, you may look at us as guppies in a pond. This is not just going to affect the guppies. It's going to affect all the way up to the sharks that are waiting for us to send a car out here. So it's like it's going to have an effect on our call times. It's going to have an effect on our morale. It's not just a let's flip the switch and guys, I'll send an email out and we're going to have to do something extra. Excellent answer. I think, John, what would you rate that on a scale of Dallas Cowboys to Buffalo Bills?
America's team, Carly. Excellent job.
Buffalo Bills. Very good.
Good.
I could see you're like in some sort of postseason delusion. Carly, now that the night shift is without Alice, calls are being mishandled, complaints are on the rise, and productivity is down. As the new leader, you decide to take a hands-on approach and adjust your hours so that you can get to know the night shift and better assess their training and leadership needs. David, a standoffish but professional high performer, asks for a transfer to another department, saying he feels micromanaged. What's your next move?
I like that you said take the hands-on approach, because one of the things I really appreciated was when we were getting slammed with calls on a rain day, we had a supervisor that would come sit next to us and take calls. So I wouldn't necessarily do it from my office. If I'm going to be there to get to know them, I'm going to have a genuine conversation with them. I'm going to sit out on the floor with them. I'm going to work with them. If they're needing something, I'm going to answer the phone. If they need something called, I'm going to volunteer to do it, because it's not just me watching what they're doing to see what's happening. It's you tell me what's happening. You tell me what you want done, and let me see if I can find a way to fix it.
What will you do about David, who's requested to go over to planning and zoning because he doesn't want to feel micromanaged?
I mean, if it feels micromanaged to just have your supervisor in the building, that is a problem in and of itself. And I understand wanting to be on night shift to be away from everything. It just feels comfy. And also it's a lot more exciting. It's a lot more fun. I lived on night shift and I loved every second of it. I can understand why they would want to stay. But if productivity is going down, and if he's the reason why is because he's irritating everyone around him because he just has this aura, at that point, it doesn't necessarily matter how good you are at the job, because you can't do it by yourself. I couldn't run my most exaggerated calls by myself. I had the help of everybody around me.
I think the highlights of your reply were saying that you would have a lead from the front approach. Everyone likes a boss that is willing to do the actual job to show that they still can do it. If you can look at your boss and say, this person is the same as me, they just do what I do and then a little bit more or a lot more. I think that's a good thing. I think it's important to remember you're not always there to cater to everyone's feelings. However, I must regret to inform you the correct answer was throw a pizza party. Drew?
It's always pizza party.
John, you're a seasoned professional, and I understand that. I've taught you well. A supervisor tells you in a casual conversation that they had to tell a male employee to, quote, suck it up, because he was complaining on and on about some unwanted advances of a recently divorced female employee. What is your next step?
I do not tolerate breaking the code of ethics. I don't care what side you come from. I don't care if it's the female being the perpetrator. I don't care if it's the male being the perpetrator. Everyone's getting treated the same. And my first reaction would have been, why didn't you handle it seriously? Even if it's a casual conversation, I've had those discussions even with coworkers in the corrections field. Why didn't you take that seriously? Well, I thought they were just bullshitting. It doesn't matter, because you still have to treat it as if everything is a legit complaint, and then the bullshit can be sussed out later.
Carli is on fire, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly what I was going for. Like, you got to address that supervisor first.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? It came up in a casual conversation. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't tell people to suck it up, especially when it comes to sexual harassment. It doesn't matter if it's male or female, male, female. And everybody has the right to be offended, and we have to nip the situation in the bud there could be a deeper issue there with a recently divorced person who's, maybe just wanting to sow her oats, or maybe she's got some other stuff going on that she needs to fill the void, no pun intended. So we definitely want to address that. Excellent answer. No pizza party required. As a matter of fact, you're going to have to make the supervisor buy you pizza and
Yep.
a solicited sexual advance. John?
I'm so glad I'm stepping in to keep you from talking more. New technology has inspired a partner agency to ask for a change to an everyday procedure. Your longtime dispatcher, Frank, objects to the change, explaining at length that the new process is less efficient. After the change is implemented, Frank fails to adapt to the change, and a partner agency is now complaining. Frank has approached a leader outside of your department and says that your instructions were unclear and you've poorly implemented a needless change. What is your next move?
I mean, no one really loves change. No one loves getting a new CAD. No one loves getting a new system, especially if there's a lot of bugs in the turnover. But I mean, I would hope you would just give it a chance. Like, I'm not going to sit there and say, I didn't pick it, but this is what we're doing. It would be, let's see if we can make it efficient. If it's not efficient, and I mean, obviously working in government, you always get told no, if it's not in the budget, nothing's ever in the budget. You always get the last thing. And we know this, but if there's a genuine concern and we can tack it on to being a safety issue, I don't see why we can't justify tweaking it a little bit. Now, if it's just his lack of wanting to conform, that's a totally different issue. I'm sorry you went to different leadership and decided to tell the story in the incorrect way, but I'm pretty sure I'll have documentation on what you're not doing. Or even if I just see it and have that genuine conversation of, hey, I see that you're intentionally not utilizing it. You're intentionally disobeying new policy. That's a different conversation that we have to have. Are you going to give it a chance, or are we going to look at other options at this point?
All good. Looking for more of a pizza party based approach. Drew.
Pepperoni or cheese?
What strategy would you use to improve the relations between communications employees and the functions that they support, like patrol or transport or the fire guys or whatever? What strategies would you use to bridge that gap, so to speak?
At least when I was in a bigger agency and we didn't have the face-to-face, it was nice getting that little bit of face-to-face. So even if it's just like rotations, like you're going to do a week on fire, you're going to do a week on medical, you're going to do a week on patrol, and then we're going to rotate, just so you get that constant state of, we're not having Jim, Jack, Jill, and James all on different days, and we never build that rapport with anyone. So at least having like a rotational one, totally fine. I understand being able to like trade into your favorite radio. I was guilty of it. I worked the same radio every day. I also built really good rapport with them. When I got sent out on ride-alongs, having that face-to-face contact, I'm seeing what you do. I'm seeing how my job affects what you do. And then having them come sit with us. You're seeing what I do. You're seeing how when I tell you stand by, I'm not just bullshitting and eating a snack. I'm legitimately probably answering a 911 call, and I don't have the time to take your driver's license and plate check at the moment. But I'm also not forgetting about you. And I say, okay, now I'm clear, go ahead. And then they actively see that and see that you're actually busy when you say you're busy.
It dawned on me that like perhaps we don't do enough observation, or we don't do enough sit along type stuff, because even if we just, even as like a shift commander, I would say, hey, if you're downtown or you're coming back from the jail, just stop in there and say hello, talk to them, like tell them the rest of the story, or just, share a laugh or do whatever, bring them something. But you know what, that's like a visitor, you know what I mean? So they're not seeing the true, like everybody's just so happy to see somebody, it's like walking, just everyone's happy. Like everyone's like, yeah. So they're not seeing the true moment of chaos or whatever, what goes on when they can't give you some information. So that's pretty good information there. Like I like your strategy of switching everybody up so everybody gets a shot. to get to know everyone else. I mean, you could also try to incorporate family nights, like try to get face-to-face interaction. Hey, bring your Cub Scout troop up here. We'd love to see you, and we'd love to see your kids, and blah blah blah. Good answer. I'm thumbs up on that one.
Carli, the entire team is disgusted by your cynical attempts to purchase their loyalty and performance with cheap, empty gestures such as pizza parties. Staffing is at an all-time low, shift vacancies are at an all-time high, overtime has surpassed the budget, and a mishandled critical incident has summoned public scrutiny. Called to the chief executive's office, you are put on final notice to reverse all negative trends in your department or face dismissal. What do you do?
You know, at that point, it's going to sound controversial, but I'm going to utilize the vehicle code. There's a section called parity where, at least if you're a state agency, you can push for higher pay. And it blows my mind that they're not utilizing it, because it is not just for the officers in the field, where it would take an average of all of the departments that are around you in your vicinity. And then it would average it, and that would be basically what your pay would be. It ends up bringing it up by a significant amount. And at least from everyone that I worked with, that would have been enough to keep them happy for a little bit. It would have been enough to get people to apply, because what they're doing is they're going to places that are paying more. They're still going to have the same issue. Like in the Bay Area, you're still going to have the departments that you're not going to be able to keep people because they're just so overrun. Now, if you can pay similar wages and you only have that one comm center and you don't have a whole bunch of little departments around you because you dispatch for 9 counties in one room, okay, well, now you're appealing to the people. Why is it more important for me to be there? Why, instead of moving to a more expensive area where I'm going to get paid better, if you raise my pay and I can stay where I'm living, that's just a bonus for me. And at that point, if that's what the people are wanting, I don't understand why we can't utilize that.
I swear to God, Carli, the answer is
a
pizza.
party.
God sakes.
Carli, after the pizza party, 2 supervisors approach you with a request to open a disciplinary case on an employee that they caught sleeping at her console. They offer you cell phone photos to back up their claim. What's the next step from here?
We're opening it. I've witnessed it. It's frustrating. I have answered the rollover for officers that are trying to get a hold of them, and they are passed out at their console, and they are wondering why their dispatcher isn't answering, and I don't have the answer for them. And I have to sit there and be like, oh, she's just busy at the moment. What can I help you with? When I'm like, no, your life is legitimately in danger. At that point, I don't care if you're the best employee. I don't care if people love you. That does not matter to me, because the person on the other end goes home to a family at night or in the day when they're off. I am not taking on that liability. If there's justification on opening an investigation, I will headline it, because that is unacceptable.
This was a baited question because this actually happened to me. I understand your sentiments. I do want you to remember that you very firmly said that there is somebody on the other end of that phone that goes home to a family. Because my first question to the 2 supervisors was, well, first of all, you took photos. Did you wake her up? And
Yes.
They said no. So then the second thing I said was, did anybody ask her why she was sleeping? Is she sick, or has anybody asked her? And they told me no. And they said, I said, then just ask her, and let's, pull her into the office, ask her, and let's see what's happening here. Because I don't want to discipline somebody.
Drew, are you still there? I think we lost Drew. Drew's temporarily not on the show. Carli, what would you do if you wanted to ask someone why they are sick and what is going on with them?
So I did wake him up. I did. And I asked him what happened. And no.
Um,
And
I think Drew makes a good point though, is that a lot of times dispatchers are overworked, that they're asking to step up and do lots of extra shifts. That they have to sometimes work overnight and do things they don't want to do, and that it can run them down after a while. There never is an excuse for sleeping at a station. I think it's a bad look for any 911 agency. I think if the public could come in and see that they would be deeply frustrated. What's your view on that? That it takes a year to hire and train and replace a qualified 911 dispatcher. Do you have a view that we can rehabilitate 911 dispatchers, or do you have a more of a summary judgment view about that?
kind of a little bit of column A and column B. I think you should put more emphasis into who you hire and not just need the warm body and we'll filter them out as we go. Because what happens is you just end up lower and lower in staffing, and then those bodies end up becoming acceptable. And then they continue to work, and then they continue to not get better. And whereas if you have someone that is just struggling through training, you can work with that person. You can figure out, like, okay, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Where do we need more practice? What can we implement more practice? Like, is it just needing a lot of radio traffic? Okay, all the officers go run everything. Go run everything, not on your computers. Just run it through the radio, because we need this person to have more of that connection to it and being able to multitask and do it quickly, if that's what it is.
I like giving them the opportunity to train hard and to keep them awake and keep them busy. That certainly is one way of doing it. It's an interesting way of kind of punishing them, is giving them more work to do until they figure it out. Drew, are you back with us? If nothing proves that we're live, I don't know what else could prove it. Because on a not live show, Drew never disappears.
I think where was I cut off, or where did it?
You were talking about rehabbing employees. You said if they're asleep at their desk, what's the reason for it?
Bringing them in and questioning them.
So I never got to the solution of what happened when they brought her in.
What's the solution, Drew?
It wasn't a solution. They brought her in to question her, and she said, I have 2 elderly parents at home, and I have an autistic kid. He's about 15, and I get about an hour of sleep a day. And so they both humbly came to me and said, yeah, this is not the right course of action here. And this is, you just never know. I guess the overarching lesson in the whole thing is, I get what you're saying. You got to hold people accountable. They're responsible for working the 8, 12, 16 hours, whatever they're supposed to be working. Make sure that you ask, though. Make sure that you understand that there are reasons why that, they could be like, yeah, my mom's on hospice. I don't want, as a matter of fact, that happened to me. I had an employee that was doing really, really bad. And he was definitely on his way out, and I had a conversation with him. He's no longer with us, by the way. He was killed.
What, he was killed for falling asleep at his desk?
No. He was killed on duty.
Okay, that was worse. What a terrible time to make a joke.
I had a the word killed definitely wouldn't have tipped you off at all, John. No.
Within the context, that's what I thought.
But I asked him, I was like, hey, like, is there anything going on at home? And he's like, damn it, no one has ever asked me that. No one has ever asked me. I'm not trying to be the savior here, like I'm the first guy that thought of that. I don't want to be the first guy that thought of that, and I definitely don't want to be the last one to use that. And he told me this whole story about how his father or his mother-in-law is kind of like his mom, or his father-in-law is like his father, and he's dying, and it's putting a strain on the whole family, and he's just got real short-tempered, and he's having trouble with one of the kids, and blah blah blah. And yeah, there's a reason for all this stuff. So maybe not correctable. Maybe he just needs to be on a different shift to get his head together, or something like that. But I guess my lesson to you, Carli, is just make sure before we drop the hammer, let's maybe just ask, like, is everything okay? I mean, is this maybe a PTSD issue even, or something like that? We push this mental health. We got to kind of follow up on that part of it, right? So then all you do is just from that point, just buy them pizza, and everything is straight. Everything is fine. John?
One last question. Carli, one of your most seasoned operators, George, one night is using the radio during a flare of Aurora Borealis activity never before seen in your lifetime. While using the radio, he's able to establish voice contact on this same day in 1969 with his father, who was a firefighter. He warns his firefighter father of an impending fire that will occur the next day that will lead to his untimely demise. Because he changes his father's fate and his father survives, unfortunately, a serial killer who was meant to be killed in that same fire also survives, leading to the death of 10 women, including your own mother. What do you do?
See ya. Have a good one. Pizza?
Are you fucking joking? We have 10 women dead, including your mother.
I don't know.
First of all,
that one right.
I want to talk to the guy from years ago too. So, like, put me in, coach. How did we make contact?
For those of you that don't know, this is essentially the
okay?
plot of the 2000 movie Frequency with Randy Quaid.
For those of you who don't know.
Or Dennis Quaid. It's one of them Quaids. Great film. Highly recommend. 5 stars. Carli, do you like the movie Frequency? That's my last
Never
question.
seen it.
What?
Sorry, I don't watch movies.
Time traveling radio?
You lose me at time travel.
Honestly, I don't know why they don't play it at the Academy.
Well, how do you know they don't, first of all? Second of all, Carli, to wrap it up from my end, what are 2 things that you want the public to know about the telecommunications industry, about communications industry?
They're definitely overworked and underpaid. And also, there's a lot of really good people that do the job. And I wish it was easier for them to get the credit that they're due. They're not given enough credit, which is why I will forever support your guys' show, strictly just to bring light to the fact that there is a Comm Center. Because I don't know how many times I would answer the phone and they'd be like, "Oh, officer." And I'm like, close, but no. And they'd be like, "Oh, okay, well then I want a man." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, also, no." So
don't we all, sister?
Yeah. So it's just one of those that they literally go unnoticed, and it's a lot of the times by their own coworkers, a lot of the times by the patrol in the field. I didn't work fire or medical, so I don't know if they have a better rapport with theirs or not. But if it wasn't the ones that recognized me from working the radio all the time, it wasn't really like, if they didn't also put in the effort of like, "Hey, guess what? This happened." And I'm like, "Oh, no way. Like, that's cool." Or I would ask them like, "How did we not take that for evidence? It was a fatal." And then one guy was like, "Oh, it was a zombie." And I was like, "Come again?" And he was like, like when the transients just walk on the freeway and we don't have anyone to contact and it wasn't the guy's fault, so we don't need to take his car. And I'm like, okay, fair. I would have never known that. I would have been like, how do we have a fatal and we're not taking the car for evidence? Like, that just didn't click to me. So if they weren't receptive to me asking and like actually filling me in, I would have never built that rapport with that person. And then the next night I was working the radio again. He was like, "Oh, I remember you from yesterday." Like, that's cool. That is a good feeling. And I've never met this person in person ever, but we still know each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. There's human beings on the other end of that phone, on the other end of that radio. I mean, like, get to know them. You know what I mean? Like, just, I like your approach. Underworked or overworked and underpaid is pretty critical, especially now. I mean, you would think with the number of open positions, they'd have enough money to kind of bump the pay a little bit, but hopefully
you think.
Carli, we started this show 13 months ago, and you were the first person to call in and speak with me directly out of that old body of fans that we now call the communists. I don't know what we call them. But you've known me longer than anyone, longer than Falk Narrator, longer than Cupcakes and Cameos, longer than Felony Melanie. What are my 3 favorite pizza toppings?
I've never thrown you a pizza party, man.
I
But
forgive you for the sake of this interview.
yeah, you don't always make the best choices, so I'm gonna go with bell peppers, mushrooms, and linguiça.
I don't even know what the hell linguiça is. You need to define that before I can say yes or no.
It's a spicy sausage.
Okay, I will say yes. I like spicy sausage. You get a half point. I like pepperoni and salami. Those are my top 3. If we're gonna go 4, mushroom. But unfortunately, because of your very pitiful performance, you do have to eat a Christmas ornament tonight. I don't know if you know that is standard rules for an interview on the show. So if you want to unpack one of those, you will be eating.
We'll send you a Comm Center ornament to you.
On your honor, you will be eating one of these.
Yeah, no. You'll have to record it. We have to know.
Oh,
well, yes, on your honor, but
it's really fair.
Right. John, if that's the case, like what are your favorite 3 toppings? Because I probably have a bone to pick with you.
I said
Just
already.
What are your top? What are your
mine?
Yeah.
Oh, I said already. That's why
What is it?
Sorry, you're going middle-aged green on
Yeah,
me right now.
I am.
Pepperoni, salami, and sausage.
Oh, pepperoni, salami, and sauce. Okay. Why did you make me eat tuna, peanut butter, and chocolate sauce?
I wanted to test the bounds of our relationship. I wanted to see if you would still love me even after I fuck up, Drew. I have to know if I could trust you even at the worst.
You know what, John? I do.
All right, good. We saved that moment.
Carli,
Carly, what's your top 3?
I like pepperoni, sausage, and bell pepper.
I got to throw in a veggie. Well, it's not bad. I would eat that. Drew, what are your top 3? Probably something weird because you're from Buffalo, right?
Well, I don't know if it has anything to do with buffalo, but I like physically buffalo meat. No, pepperoni, mushrooms.
We eat that here.
Pepperoni, mushrooms, and banana peppers.
Ooh.
Not bad.
Thank you.
All right, folks, if you like pizza toppings, go ahead and put them in the chat there. See Cupcakes and Cameos likes pepperoni or just pep, which could be short for pepsin, which is a drug which increases your it's a stimulant. Ham could be Pepto-Bismol. Double pepperoni, light sauce, black olives and mushrooms. That's from Lumen Melder. Salamander likes an old-fashioned pepperoni, green peppers, and onions. Our producer says, ooh, nice. Thanks, Dewey, for really weighing in there and taking a bold choice. I appreciate you. He likes pineapple on his pizza. Dewey, we already, first of all, where are you and why aren't you on the show? Probably driving home. Carly's mom, Sherry, already said in the chats that she was Italian, and so that pineapple is verboten.
Yeah,
I believe verboten's the Italian word for forbidden. It's forbidden.
Yeah, that's the sausage too, like the reason for the favoring sausage.
Artichoke heart, mushroom, and sausage. Chicken wing pizza. That's, of course, from Captain Micah, who can, on white pizza. Oh, gosh. He's so punchable. Drew, if you have nothing else, I can go to a voicemail because we have no phone calls. We're 97 minutes in.
I don't think I had anything to start with, so go for it.
All right,
I had a bad mic. That's about it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and play our only voicemail this week. Folks, we do want to remind you, if you do want to be a part of the show, first of all, you could call in, hypothetically, and you could be a part of the show by dialing 848-COM-911. That's 848-266-6911.
Nice.
You can leave a voicemail for us. We will play it on the show. We play all voicemails because, let's face it, gang, we ain't got a lot of voicemails. We just got one. So if you leave a message, we're going to play it. And also, I will tell you this. If you leave like 3 of them, I'm going to tell that like you're nervous, and I will edit together the best parts, and I will make you sound like a coherent human being on the show. I've done this multiple times for multiple people. 10-6 Canoe, we miss you. We don't know if you're out there, somewhere up there up north. We miss you. Call back into the show. But if you want to reach out to us, of course, you can reach out to us on other platforms as well. You can talk to Drew on Instagram at WhatSayDrew. And, of course, you can reach me at Difficult to Look At Pictures. And Carly and Beignet, speaking of like being a big deal on Instagram, fuck, that dog is like 10,000 followers and an endorsement deal from Crispy Donut Community.
Nike.
And Carli's monetizing the dog. She has a whole like farm of various beignets. That beignet is going to live for 100 years. She can seamlessly replace beignets at any time. It's a really really sordid scandal to monetize herself out of government work. But beignet has enough money to have me killed. And so you can follow that at beignet_the_corgi, I believe. Is that correct, Carli?
Yeah.
If you want to get in touch with her dog, and if you want to get in touch with her, I believe Beignet also follows Carli, and not just on Walk. So I'll go ahead and play the voicemail at this time. What do we got?
Jim from Florida, just calling to give you some feedback on the last show. About minute 51 of the podcast, you really hit the ball out of the park. I think you summed up the whole plight of our telecommunicators in the industry. In their burnout. Great job. John, unfortunately, I got to give you some mentor feedback. I think you've become a color wheel snob because you, if I remember correctly, you defined the word mauve, and then you spoke of a cerulean blue. I had to look that one up. I'd never heard of that one, but perhaps the teacher is now becoming the pupil, and the pupil is now the teacher. I'm not sure if congratulations are in order, but I'll give them to you anyway. Keep up the good work.
Yeah,
I will say that minute 51 was my absolute favorite minute. Recalling it clearly now as I am. Also, what can I say, Jim? I got the big box of crayons. I know 128 colors. What can I say?
Was I on a minute 51 or was that you, John?
Probably me.
Damn it. I was hoping this would be the week.
Don't worry, you'll edit it so that you're all the minutes of an episode. So don't even worry.
Well, that's why I'm editing them. I think that's about it, John. And thank you, Carli. Thank Beignet. Thank your mom for taking
Sherry.
Sherry for taking Beignet hostage during this difficult time that we had together. It was a wonderful experience. And John, if you wouldn't mind sticking around, I would love that.
Yes, Carli. When is your interview though? Like, you don't have to tell us the exact day, but is it like next week or when is that?
Or did you rethink this?
Did you?
It hasn't closed yet.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're still waiting to hear back, but when it does, we wish you all the best. We do sincerely believe in you. I think if you can handle Drew's experience questions and my specific nonsense questions, I mean, you're even ready to handle like time travel, Aurora Borealis radio stuff. Like, you're up for this.
Pizza party.
Believe in yourself, and that's most of it. Having that confidence and we believe in you and we wish the best for you. And I can't wait for you to someday make me your minion, where I will live and die at your command and live by your whims, because that could happen. You never know. I'm a lackey's lackey for sure. No ambition, bring nothing to the table. I am more easily dispensable than Alice. So I just wish you all the best. But do let us know how it goes, though. We are pulling for you. On behalf of Drew and on behalf of my own self, I want to say thanks for listening to the Comm Center. We appreciate you. We're going to have more live episodes coming soon. Make sure you keep an eye out for that. You're always welcome to be part of the show. It's meant for you to call into. We have 2 calls, Drew. Should I do it or not?
Give it a shot.
All right, let's do it. We got from 661 coming in. All right, caller, we're putting you on the air. Even though you didn't listen to the banner saying we're closing the call lines, you're on the air. Go ahead.
No, well, I had to pause it because I didn't want to hear myself. And
Foxy, I told you to call in at the start of the show. I've been telling you that for 13 months.
She's in a different time zone, John.
Just wait. You can call into the show and listen to the show, and then when we're ready, we'll bring you on the show. We're experienced at this. We know what we're doing. Foxy, how are you?
Good. How are you, John and Drew and
Hi.
Carli? Long time no see, Carli.
I know, it's been like a few hours.
Foxy, what is your interview question for Carli?
Should we throw a pizza party?
Oh, Foxy.
Yes.
Playing it safe as always. Foxy, thanks for calling the show. You were the first person to leave a voicemail because I answered Carli's call. So you're a longtime fan of the show. Foxy, just text me. I will talk to you in a little bit. Thanks for calling into the Comm Center. I want to get the last call on, though. So I'll talk to you later,
All
Foxy.
right.
You
Night,
take
guys.
care. Bye.
Night.
Bye.
Caller, you're on the air.
Are you there? I'm going to put them on. They're coming on, Drew. Here we go.
Fel Mel.
Oh, hey! It's your favorite felon.
Welcome to the show, Felony Melanie.
We love felons.
Melanie,
How are you guys? It's good to see you.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If the moon was made of green cheese, would you eat it? Hey!
Hey! If the moon were made out of Swiss cheese, would you eat it?
It's a
I
simple
love it,
question,
John.
Drew.
A baby can answer it.
It's a simple question. Felony, how are you?
It's Harry Carey here.
Hey.
I'm doing well, John. Hi, Drew. Hi, Carly.
Hi.
Hello.
What are you holding up? Oh, you got a patch from Felony Melanie.
That's a patch from Felony Melanie. I somewhat indiscreetly put it directly behind my head so that when she watches the show, she cannot see it at all.
I did see it, yes. That's the old one.
Yeah, so...
And then I sent you the new one that they used.
I'll show the new one just because I think Lauren's watching tonight, and I think he likes this kind of thing. Look at that. They... Macaketa, if I got that right.
God bless you.
They increased the professionalism.
You
Macoketa. Which sounds like a Caribbean drink, by the way.
Drop my coconut.
They increased the professionalism of their patch this year. Although I will say about Macoketa, your patch is very, very basic. I like it. I like the font. I'm very much a fonts guy. I like that there's no serifs on this font. I will tell you, though, that the Iowa State seal is on here, and it has your state motto, give me liberty or best offer. You guys have got to change that. I don't like that motto very much.
I didn't even know that they had seals there. But is there a point where we're going to wrap up? We just
yes. Guys, Drew needs to go to bed. He's got to mow his lawn in the morning. Felony Melanie, thank you for calling in. We appreciate you just spending a little time with us. We appreciate it so much. And we hope that
good to see you guys.
Hope you have a good night. I've got one more call, Drew. Can we take it? Yes.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean,
right.
You know, we were sitting here for an hour doing nothing, so I don't.
Yes,
see why
guys,
we
call
wouldn't
in at the
take it out.
beginning of the show. What's wrong with you? Caller, you're on the line.
Hello.
605. Go ahead.
Hello.
I'd just like to say I'm very proud to be the producer of such a prestigious show.
Oh.
And calling in to give my best to Carly on her interview.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry I couldn't be there for the whole show, but I mean you're with the best of them with Drew and John. Well, John maybe not the best, but he's top 10 maybe.
He's getting there.
I'm top 10 hosts of Comm Center all time. Dewey, we'll have to have you on for another show, folks. This is our producer Dewey. He just joined the team, professional guy. If you didn't see his picture on our Instagram story today, comparing our likenesses, and if you ever wonder why he's calling in and I'm actually on camera, you will definitely be confused by that because he's a handsome man. Dewey,
Carli,
thank you for calling in.
Carly, keep the caller talking. John,
yeah, absolutely.
We've traced the call. It's coming from.
It's a warning of what your life could look like if you were to follow in John's footsteps.
Right. Infinite sadness.
Dewey, I've said this to you many times that I'm like your brother that's been just a microwave for a few seconds, right? Like that's what I look like.
Dewey would
guess
play,
that's
Dewey's
what
gonna
you
play.
would say.
Dewey, you're gonna play John in the docudrama.
Yeah,
That's right.
If we get enough money to afford such good looks, I kind of doubt it. I'm going to get probably an early Vincent D'Onofrio, but crossed over with late Steve Buscemi is probably who's going to be me. So
Benier's gonna play.
Yep.
All right, Dewey. Thanks for calling in. I
Thank you,
appreciate you.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you soon. I love you, buddy. Bye.
All right,
Okay.
John.
Love you too, brother.
Yes, bye.
We've exhausted everything to
All
include
right.
me. So, John, if you wouldn't mind sticking around, Carly,
we'll
do the same.
We'll stick around. Thanks, guys, for everything. Thanks for watching the Comm Center. Guys, 100 years of Comm Center. We appreciate
1,000 years.
you. 1,000 years, 1,000 episodes. Dick for meal. Thanks for watching Comm Center.
Right.